So, this is why games suck, and this is the Way of the Hunter edition. And I know that the fanboys are all rallying, get your comments ready, get all that hate channeling towards me based on my opinion of a video game. And the reason the games nowadays do suck is because of the mentality of people that purchase them. And this isn't towards everyone, this is towards those people with that specific mentality. And there is a lot of different factors that basically form that mentality. And it's frustrating to see because as a gamer, you want your games to be fun, entertaining, and you want them to actually work, have fundamental features in them. And some of the things I pointed out in my Do Not Buy Way of the Hunter video, they're just being shut down by people that don't care. They just want to play a game. And for that reason, games will never get better. Way of the Hunter launched without an FOV slider and without the ability to change your keybinds when it's an experience that is supposed to be next gen. This game didn't release on the PS4 or the Xbox One. It's a Windows game, it's PS5, and it's Series X and S. It's a next generation game that is missing basic fundamental features for modern video games. The first part of the mentality is just because other games have bugs in them when they release and they have problems, you have to expect that in every single game that releases now. And that is not the way people should be looking at it. You should be going into every single different game with the mindset that that game, if they're releasing it as a full release, which Way of the Hunter is, it should have all the features that a game of that caliber requires, whether that is AA, AAA, or indie. And another part of the mentality is the fact that the developers have the ability to fix things later, but they always take your money straight away. If this was released at a cheaper price, say instead of £35 it was $20, then okay, it's a little bit more, you're just nitpicking, those features might be added later. It still shouldn't be, but it would be more warranted and more valid if it was a cheaper game. This is a £35 title. And that's for the basic edition, and the bigger up edition just gives you a season pass where you get DLC chucked in. And we're going to get into that a little bit further into the video because we're also going to read some reviews from other players within the community. And there's also another YouTube review from a very reliable reviewer that I want to talk about as well. So they take your money straight away, but they can fix things later. That is unacceptable straight away. And people often act as though these companies are their best friends. They defend them every way possible. But at the end of the day, you have to look at it. These companies do not care about you or your experience in their game. They care about money and making their boss happy through the sales so that they don't get fired. And not only that, when it comes to opinions, I share mine. This game's not worth the money. I point out some problems, that's fact, not opinion. At the end of the day, it's up to you to basically create your own opinion. But I put mine out there with some facts to give you a better understanding. And it's bad for the creator when they share their opinion on the internet because I watch loads of other YouTube content. I'm always watching YouTube videos. And typically when someone talks down about a game, all the fanboys are going to jump in. They're going to defend that game. And the creators oftentimes get really disheartened. They get down. They lose motivation because of how some people approach the comments, which is not fair whatsoever. I don't give a shit. I'll explain that as we get further into it. But some people really do take, not exactly offense. They get disheartened, they lose motivation, they start feeling down about the reaction they get from some players just because they've shared their opinion and put their thoughts out there. If someone has a different opinion to you, they are entitled to it. Just don't be a dick about it. Talk like a fucking adult. It's not hard. And there's always the saying, treat other people how you want to be treated. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a conversation about a difference of opinion. There's actually usually a lot of knowledge to come from them. My longest member on this channel of almost 3 years, Sean, who's actually become a really good friend, he's always got a different opinion to me. But we talk about it and we appreciate and respect the other person's opinion and thoughts. I say always got a different opinion. There's often times we share a different opinion. But it's not hard to sit there and have conversations. These companies are not your friends. They are companies running businesses to make money. And this topic is a big reason I keep my comments open to opinions, to give those a voice that otherwise can't be heard, and to let them know that they are free to voice their opinions and thoughts unless you're going to be a prick to other people for absolutely no reason. You're either going to get shit back, even though I do need to stop that because it just heats the haters up to carry on chatting shit about something they oftentimes know nothing about, or I'm just going to hide your comments so you can sit there and talk to yourself and look like an idiot. Way of the Hunter, like a couple of things I didn't even mention in my video, it's got terrible screen tearing. There is no FOV slider, which I've mentioned. There's no key rebinding on PC. Yes, you can look through the game, you can go to the encyclopedia, you can find the keybinds for PC, but you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to go to the settings and see the keyboard controls, similar to how you can see the controller controls on a PC title. You can go to the encyclopedia, you can see them. So that's something I was wrong about. There is a way to see the keybinds, however, you cannot change them. You are able to get stuck on trees. I've heard the co-op side of the game just sucks. Tracking animals does have issues. It's not because I've never hunted in my life. And there are sound bugs that have been found after hours and hours of game time that are only fixable by starting a whole new game. That's ACG's review. ACG, a very well-known YouTuber, incredibly reliable for his reviews. After, I think it was about 30 hours. That's a guess. I'm not saying I'm 100% accurate with that. But I believe it was after about 30 hours of gameplay, he come across a sound bug that just continued to get worse and worse and worse to the point where your ears cannot take it anymore. And that sound bug was tied to his game save. The only way to stop that from happening is to start a whole new game. And the people that don't experience bugs will instantly jump to, oh, you're lying, this game's perfect. Bullshit. And it moves me on to my next point, because people claim all this stuff even after being shown them things happening in a video because their game doesn't have problems from what they've played of it. Remember that everyone here makes up the smallest minority of gamers, so I would say to start accepting that other people will have issues that you will not, and it's nothing to do with luck. There are multiple platforms as one example of why a game will be different for different people. Like The Division 2, a lot of people are saying the game is still crashing after an update. I tried it, sat there and played for an hour. It might be different game modes and things, but I sat there and played for an hour and didn't crash once. I'm not just going to say those people are lying because I never crashed. It's going to happen on a case-by-case basis a lot of the time. Different platforms, different specs in your PCs. There's lots of different factors that come into it. You can't just say, I'm not experiencing bugs. I've got the perfect gameplay experience. You're just fucking lying. Doesn't work like that whatsoever. And the most stupid thing I've heard in recent times, in the comments I saw this, specifically about Way of the Hunter, I mentioned the FOV slider, how it might make you a little bit sick or give you a headache, just because of the way the camera movement and stuff works. And according to the comment that I'm talking about, that makes the game amazing because it's based on real life, and you feel sick with the FOV in real life when you're hunting. Which made absolutely no sense. I found it funny that people are going to that sort of desperation to try and prove their point against me, that they're saying it's like that in real life. And I put that out in a community post. I couldn't help myself. I really should. I do need to stop, basically heating up the haters, but it's just, I find it funny. It's entertaining for me. I will try and cut it down. So hopefully you don't see too many videos of this sort. But this isn't just about the hate towards it. This is why games suck. People just do not see the problems in games. They're willing to accept, oh, it's a day one release. Give it at least a week, give it a month, give it time, the developers can fix it. They've already taken your fucking money. They've taken your £35, they've taken your $70. They've taken your money. They should have given you a full experience. They've released it as a full release, it's not early access. That mentality needs to stop because games will never improve if that carries on. Another funny one that pops up is apparently you're not able to know about hunting, and you're basically not allowed to play this game and have a valid opinion on anything or valid point, or even form your own opinion if you haven't hunted in real life. And that's according to quite a few comments. And I find it funny because they all assume that you have to go hunting, but they fail to realise that not everyone's from America. I'm from the UK, so I can't just go out, step outside my front door, go into the woods and hunt deer. It doesn't work like that over in the UK. But so many people defend games now that have fundamental issues. And a lot of people also claim, as I said, it's day one of the game, give it time. So what the fuck was the development time for, and all the beta testing and things like that, along with the early access for reviewing purposes? What's all that for? They're going to take your money every single time, £35 in the case of Way of the Hunter, and you're going to play a game that has good gameplay. As I said, it's not that the game is terrible, it's that it has issues. Issues that could possibly make you feel sick or ill and give you headaches. That's why I've said, do not buy the game. It can make you feel bad within your physical health. It can make you ill because of a fundamental basic feature they haven't included. I mentioned in the video the gameplay was fun. And this is a full release, as I've said, so stop making excuses for companies, even if there are 20 people working on the game, All of these people are qualified to do what they have failed with. And how hard is it for the player to make them wait to get their money? If it takes a week to fix the game, wait a week to buy the game. If it takes 6 months, you get the picture. Why are players so desperate to get their hands on a new release, acting as though it's the only game in the world? Go outside, touch some grass, read a book, do something different until that game is actually worth your money and your time. Sometimes it's not always the developer's fault. Sometimes it can be the devs, sometimes it's the management. The fact is that the game is broken in the first place. You shouldn't have to go into Way of the Hunter and avoid the trees because there's the possibility of getting stuck. I've seen people talking about falling through the map. I've seen people talking about how ridiculous some of the objectives are. I've seen people talking about their game crashing. I've heard about sound bugs. There's loads of bigger issues compared to what I've had. But my main purpose of that, my main goal of that video was to let people know this game can make you feel sick, can make you feel ill, can give you a headache. Just don't buy it at that current time. I'm not going to say don't buy the game yet, because if they never fix it, then that's going to stay a don't buy this yet forever. I said don't buy it because at that time, it's not worth your money, in my opinion. But if they do updates, if they add an FOV slider, if they sort all that stuff out, I can revisit the game. I can post another video. I can change my opinion, because that's how opinions work. And that's what a lot of people fail to realise. But also, a lot of people think that bugs in games can be squashed instantly. So they think, oh, the game's got bugs, every other game has. Give them time, it's day one, they will fix the issues. What people don't realise is, when you fix bugs, hot fixes do exist, although not many games release them. On PC, patches are also much easier, because on console they have to go through security protocols and stuff. But if they are going to fix the game properly, they're going to need time to test the entire build of the game, with the patch included, to make sure it works before releasing it to the public. A lot of games will rush patches out for positive feedback, oh look, they're fixing the game, and then players often notice more problems, sometimes much worse, as a result of the latest patch screwing up the entire build of the game. Every single patch should be tested with people running the entire build to make sure there are no bad problems within that patch. It's happened to lots of games, big and small, where they fix a couple of issues and they create 50 more, but some of them being game breaking. As an example, recent times, Outriders, they fixed inventory wiping issues. Yes, your whole inventory went disappearing. And in that patch, they never tested it properly. They started off this new bug where damage mitigation didn't work properly. And then when they fixed that, they didn't test it properly, and people's inventory started wiping again. And that's major, major issues in a game. And even if you fix a minor issue, something like getting stuck on trees, you could break the entire game. You have to test this stuff. So patches oftentimes cannot be released very, very quickly. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's going to take a week or two to sort out an FOV slider for the game. It might happen tomorrow. Might happen a few hours after you see this video. But it could possibly take weeks. And you shouldn't have to pay £35 for a full release game that you're going to have to wait any time for those sort of features to be added into the game. The moment more people start holding companies accountable and refunding bad games, no matter how cheap they are, no matter how much you've enjoyed them, that is the moment we get better quality. If you start the game, there's no FOV slider, you jump into the game and that's a minor issue for you, then you start getting stuck to trees, refund the game, show the developers, fix this stuff, then I'll give you my money. That's when games start getting better. We have to stop accepting and normalizing these poor releases. Hold the companies accountable for their mistakes. Everyone in the comments has held me accountable, apparently held me accountable for my opinions, saying that I'm wrong and the game's amazing. So hold it to the developers that these issues exist. Start letting people know that there are these issues, even if it doesn't affect your gameplay experience. You go through the reviews on Steam before you buy it, you see a bunch of people talking about the FOV slider. Even if you're not refunding, pop it into a review, pop it into forums, let people know that this is a problem. Make sure these developers know of these issues, because if you don't point out mistakes and issues in games, they will never know, so they can't fucking learn from them. And if you want your games to be good, there might be a bug that really messes you over one day, and because you haven't spoken about it like other bugs to other people, people aren't going to talk about the bug you're experiencing. You're going to have to sit there for months and months on end with nothing happening to your game because people just don't talk about it enough. Yeah, developing is probably really hard. I don't have a clue. I don't want to know, and I don't think I can do better creating a game. For a start, they have a company that's there to do it. I'm one single person. But what I do know is that these people are qualified. They've gone through education to be able to do their job. Games have long enough, oftentimes, to be polished, and the longer players accept this shit, the worse it's going to get. There's going to be a day where every game releases, similar to Battlefield 2042, Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox One and PS4, and other broken pieces of shit that keep releasing year in, year out. It's been happening for, I'm going to say, longer than 5 years now. Start voting with your wallets, don't enable such a low fucking standard in the gaming industry, and get what you deserve as a gamer. Someone that is giving this company your money. Make sure your games work properly. If you experience 2 minor issues, you fall through the map once or something like that, that's still a fucking problem. Start voting with your wallet. Get good games, good quality video games to play that are worth your money and your time. So now what we're doing is we are on Steam. We're going to take a look at the top 3 positive and the top 3 negative reviews for Way of the Hunter. I've already spoken about ACG's review. He got a sound bug that progressively got worse. It was tied to the game save. You have to start a brand new game if that happens to you. Even if you're 100 hours in, even if you're last part of the story, even if you've just found an animal that's going to be incredible to your bank balance or whatever, you have to start the game all over again. So if we go review type, we'll start with a positive. So we go most helpful reviews in the past day, the top 3. So my initial thoughts on Way of the Hunter after less than a day post-release and only a few hours of in-game experience, they had 2.2 hours at review time. So they will do a full review, they're going to post it after at least 50 plus hours. Okay, right, don't care about that, you're not 50 plus hours in. So this is after a couple of hours of gameplay. What they like is the ability to zero their weapon between 50 to 800 yards, in increments that start at around 50, increase to around 100, then to 200. The ability to swap between metric and imperial, the hunter's sense as it highlights where you've made your kill. I've not figured out whether this is limited to short distances yet. The animal models look great, the ability to see the bullet leave your weapon, at least with a 30-30 ammo from the initial weapon you get, and the bullet arc and drop is visible as the bullet flies. The bullet camera and animal post-mortem image, I absolutely love the way you can see the bullet go through the animal at the end after you've killed it. The hunting and photographer mode, the rendering distances of around 840 yards to hunt animals, the binoculars rangefinder, blood splatter analysis, the cloud formations and weather patterns. So what I'm not sure about yet, but DLCs may address some of these issues, there's no archery. There's no zoom on the binoculars, although there may be different models that include this, but I've not found them yet. So archery, they could limit bows behind they could lock them behind a paywall. So is that good? Oh look, we're getting bows in DLC, but yeah, fuck me, as part of hunting, we should have had bows at launch. The firing range is limited, and instead of getting free ammo, you have to use the ammo you've purchased, unlike on Call of the Wild ranges where all the ammo is free. That's another thing. A lot of people were saying, if you don't like this, go play Call of the Wild. This is so much better than Call of the Wild. I'm reviewing or putting out first impressions, because it's not a full-on review, I haven't played long enough. I'm putting out first impressions, my opinion, on Way of the Hunter. I'm not playing Call of the Wild. I don't give a shit about Call of the Wild. I'm talking about Way of the Hunter. People always compare one game to another and say, yeah, but this has better features. I don't care. The game still has fucking problems. Another thing they like is the story behind the conflict between rival hunting businesses, and they didn't like that when they fast travel back to the hunting lodge after vacating the Jeep, they then had to walk almost 2 miles to retrieve the vehicle. Okay, that's wrong. You can simply leave the hunting lodge, go around to the right hand side, interact with the parking sign, and it spawns the vehicle there again. You don't have to walk 2 miles to get to your Jeep. They said, I assumed it'd reappear outside the hunting lodge, much like the way you can recall your ATV in Call of the Wild. Well, you do have to just interact with a simple sign that will spawn the vehicle there. So that's an invalid complaint about the game. DLC is not going to address that. That's already a feature in the game. It's just something they obviously missed. And then what they're hoping to see in future DLC, I'm not going through that because this is about what's in the game right now. Issues and like pros and cons, basically. So that was number 1. If we go to number 2, this review is primarily to be another counterpoint to the people review bombing it. So this person has literally posted this to try and balance out the reviews. So I'm skipping that one. And then typical gamers jump on a negative review bandwagon because the FOV slider is missing. Let's not review a single thing about the actual freaking game. I'm going to spend 12 minutes in it and then leave a negative because PC Master Race option is missing. It's nothing to do with PC Master Race. You can feel ill and get headaches and shit from an FOV slider not being in the game. So again, I'm not even going to bother reading it. If you're simply putting out these reviews to counter the opposite type of review, then what is the point? And look at this list. This list is double the pros, but there are still cons. So this person's put it out. They're going to counter the people review bombing it. So what have they got bad? No FOV slider on launch. Devs have already said this is coming in the near future. Full release should have been there at launch. Some people have had the game crash on them. Is this unheard of on launch day for games? It doesn't fucking matter. This is Way of the Hunter. Every game needs to be different. Not every game should include bugs. So that's a load of bollocks. It doesn't matter if other games have it on launch or not. This game shouldn't. No way to change or alter keybinds at launch. Devs are already fixing this. I don't care. Should be there at launch. Some controls are a bit sluggish, specifically weapon swaps. The visual transition to and from hunter sense is disorienting to some people. Quite a lot of people, actually. I've seen a lot of comments of people talking about that. Multiplayer is unstable at launch. Again, not unheard of. Fuck off. Multiplayer is unstable at launch. That's all that matters. It shouldn't be the case. You're paying £35 for a full release. Weapon descriptions are pretty poor, as is information on which firearms are better for which animals at a glance on the shop page. Shotguns only have birdshot, seriously. So there's weapon descriptions that are pretty poor as well. So let's go to the negative ones now and see what people are saying. I'm going to be the same as I was with the positive ones. If I see something I don't agree with, I'm going to call it out. So starting off with this one, pros, looks great, sounds great, animal animations are realistic. A lot of people actually disagree with that. They don't think it looks great at all. Some people think the graphics for this game suck. I personally find the graphics really good. And then the cons, limited weapon and ammo selection, no way to change ammo types, so hollow point, soft point. And then shotguns are all fire birdshot only, there's no slugs, no buckshot. There's no pistols, no archery, probably will be gated behind DLC. Incredible grind, you level up by doing things like one of the perks requires you to crawl 7 kilometers to get it. The crawl speed is incredibly slow, maybe 0.3 meters a second. Someone could do the math on how many literal days worth of crawling that is. But I mean, if you're playing the game, putting a lot of hours in, you're going to eventually get there with the crawling. So it doesn't matter, it's a grind. Grinds are in lots of games. People just either don't bother with the grind or they do the grind. Then to hunt in areas outside of the starter area requires a private pass, of which there are currently 8, and they cost 4,500 currency each. A good buck gets you around 300 currency. Hunting small game is worthless as they only yield about 20. If you get a decent shot on the lungs or something of a deer, you're getting around 500 currency. I don't agree with that one because there are animals in the game that will give you a good amount of currency to unlock these private passes, and that's all about the progression of the game. It would be absolute shit if you could go anywhere and hunt any animal straight off the bat. Based on opinion. Full of bugs, downed animals disappearing as you walk up to them, birds just sink straight to the bottom in bodies of water, shooting an animal in the lungs at 100 yards and the animal nor the herd reacting at all, ghost bullets, getting stuck in rocks and environment requiring a restart of the game, crashing to desktop, massive desync in co-op, player models and animations look really wacky. They also have that in single player. Sometimes when you're crouching and walking, it's as though your arm is actually attached to your forehead, and you can see your arm just keep popping on and off the screen. And then here we do have a spoiler. I'm going to go through this, so just be prepared. This is a little spoiler on a mission in the game. Missions are bland, bizarre, and seem like they're given no rewards whatsoever. The 4th or 5th mission is investigating a weird noise in the woods, which turns to be a tape recorder next to a radio that transmits a person screaming, "Help me." And apparently it's just some chick playing a joke on her brother or something really bizarre. Well, it's a mission in the game. It gets you out exploring. So what? As everyone else has said, no FOV or ultra-wide support, feels like a really bad console port. Frame rate isn't very good on a near top-of-the-line rig, running at 1440p. Okay, so I've got an RTX 2070 Super, I've got a Ryzen 7 3700X, I had no issues, and my PC isn't quite top of the end. Like top-end, high-end rig, whatever you want to call it, and my game run just fine. So that's someone having a different experience again. I'm not trying to invalidate their opinion, their point on this negativity. It is what it is. Should have been an early access release for sure. Call of the Wild, no, stop comparing it to Call of the Wild. I agree with the first sentence. Should have been an early access release, but I don't give a fuck about Call of the Wild because I'm not playing that game. I hate to trash a game in such a niche genre that I enjoy, but maybe THQ pressed the devs into releasing this early. Needs at least another year or two in the oven. I wouldn't say so. I'd say probably 3 months or something like that. Obviously, everyone has their own opinions, but I don't think it needs that long. All they've got to do is just fix a couple of bugs, like getting stuck on trees and stuff, sort out the co-op, and then add an FOV slider, add keybind remapping, and just like a couple of quality of life improvements like that, and a couple of bug fixes, and the game is good to go. At full release. It wouldn't need to be early access if those things were sorted. So that was number 1. Number 2, simply put, it's an unfinished game. I had high hopes, but I'll have to wait until it's had some polish before maybe giving it another go. That's fair enough. Someone just doesn't like the product and they refunded it. And then, the game is fun to a certain degree, it's pretty, the maps are huge and has other good aspects I like. What's getting annoying though is the ballistic performance of certain calibers in the game. Being an in-real-life hunter and having witnessed and killed mule deer with calibers such as the 243 and the 7mm 08, I can testify that the right bullet and good shot placements can cleanly and quickly kill a mule deer at minimum 250 yards. It's easy to tell the devs missed the mark when it comes to this important realistic detail. After shooting a handful of bucks at 150 to 200 yards with the 7mm 08, and having them run 500 meters after a double lung shot, really? Then looking at the shot chart and saying that the bullet lost all energy after the bullet hit the first lung is ridiculous. I don't mind long track jobs if I know I made a bad shot, but when you're shooting a caliber that is easily required to quickly kill a deer at 200 yards, and the game says otherwise is unrealistic. They should have talked to a ballisticician, if that's how you say it, at one of the bullet manufacturers before making this game. Once again, another hunter sim game that spent too much time on the looks and the story of the game instead of the real life performances on the calibers. The tracking feature is challenging and I like that, but when you have to track virtually every deer if you shot it literally over 100 yards really takes the fun out of it. I guess to some who do not hunt in real life this may not seem like a big deal and may enjoy the game, but to us real life hunters that play a game that says hunting simulator, we have high standards and know what the game needs to be like. I guess nothing will ever be like Cabela's Big Game Hunts 2005 and their Dangerous Hunt series. So that's someone that hunts in real life that has problems with the hunting in the game. Yet I'm being told that I'm not allowed to enjoy the game. I might as well go play an arcade hunting game because I've never hunted in real life and the game is perfect. So again, difference of opinion, but this person has put a very deep explanation about the bullet types, the double lung shot, the deer always running away after shooting them further than 100 meters away or 100 yards or whatever. So it's got mixed opinions about this title. But if people are not pointing out these problems, like if you get a couple of positive reviews, like, oh, this is just a counterpoint to the people review bombing it, this game is amazing, look at all these positives, then that is not right. Like, review bombing a game and giving it a negative just for the sake of being negative, and then giving it a positive just to counter the negatives, that's a load of bullshit. Stop trying to counter review bombs. Stop review bombing. Put out an honest review of your experience within the game and let people know and the developers know what is right and what is wrong. Otherwise, it will never be fixed. It won't be a solid experience if they don't know what they have to do to fix it. If we look here, most realistic hunting game ever, but someone's just gone into a lot of detail as to how it's not that realistic in some cases. Game is very realistic and a nice change of pace. Definitely the best hunting game to come out yet. People crying over no keybinds or FOV slider are ridiculous. Okay, so go into the game, get a fucking headache, or start feeling a little bit like woozy and sick because of the FOV slider not being there, then come back and say people are crying about it. People are quote-unquote crying about it because you're not experiencing it. Keep in mind, aside from glitches, that a lot of these negative reviews are from people not reading the information the game spoon feeds you on how to play. Then it's a pretty enjoyable experience so far. Need to use actual hunting techniques such as scouting out feed plots, drinking areas, and pick your time of day. The part I like most is that it's encouraging ethical hunting, ensuring the cleanest kills with the least suffering. This game feels good, but it's got a few bugs. But what game don't? Even with a few bugs this game has, I still think it's better than fucking Call of the Wild pops up again. Comparing it, I know it's a hunting game, but you shouldn't be comparing. You should be having a good experience on this for what this game is. It doesn't always have to be compared to a game of a similar genre, of a similar sort of experience. That's why some of these reviews are so fucked up, because people are just comparing it to Call of the Wild all the time. Like literally all of the time, people are comparing it. If you don't like this game because it's so realistic, go play Call of the Wild. It's more arcadey. You'll get a better experience. You're shit at hunting in real life. God, it really pisses me off. Just start holding developers and companies accountable for the issues within the game. That's all it takes to have a really, really good experience. Games are going to continue to be like this and get even worse if people don't point out the problems. I like the reviews where there are pros and cons. I disagree with putting them out to counter review bombs. And then I also like hearing some pros from the con side of the reviews. Like I said in my video, do not buy the game. I said the gameplay is really good, you're probably going to enjoy it, but there are issues. I believe there should always be a pros and a cons list to someone's review. Don't just say this game's perfect because I enjoy it. This game's shit because I don't enjoy it. have a bigger, like, see the bigger picture, have a bigger look on the game and get a better understanding of the things that players might like and might not like. You're not going to like getting a headache. You're going to like how the game plays. It's quite realistic. And when it comes to the tracking, because that's one I haven't really spoken about, I've seen from a lot of people that the tracking has issues. The blood trails disappear. Apparently the realism is there where if it's raining, the blood's going to disappear because like rain would wash blood away. But still, when it's dry, I've seen people talking about the blood trails disappearing, the footprints disappearing. There are some issues within tracking, but it's not going to affect every single player. But that's why games suck, because people just stick to this mentality of if a game's been out less than a week, you're not allowed to criticize it. If it's a full release, you're not allowed to criticize it. If it's not AAA, you're not allowed to criticize it. If it's not Call of the Wild, you're not allowed to criticize it. All that sort of stuff. Just hold developers and companies accountable. Check out this video if you want to go and watch my video of Do Not Buy Way of the Hunter. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.